everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Volusia County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Volusia. So I'm super excited to launch this part of the podcast. We have Flagler and St. Augustine, and now we're going to kick off Volusia with you, Chris. So I'm really excited. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, Chris and I met, we actually met a few months ago. He came and he visited us here in Palm Coast at our BNI chapter, and he had the coolest thing. I won't say what it is because I think he can describe it a little bit later on what that is, but it was just a super cool computer thing, and I thought that was awesome. So I'm really glad that we connected recently and you're able to come on the podcast. So why don't you kick us off and tell me a little bit about, coming to Volusia, being in Volusia, and how's that been for you?
Okay, I actually moved here in 2015 into Volusia County. Prior to that, I was in Orange County, and prior to that, up in the cold state of Wisconsin. So it was great moving down here. It's always been a place I love to visit ever since I was a child, and now that I'm moved and live down here, it's just awesome. I love
That's
the people, love
mhm.
the weather, you name it.
Yeah. Wisconsin is really nice, but there's definitely a huge difference, because as you know, I'm from Michigan, so we're kind of neighbors in that sense.
Correct.
But it's so beautiful down here. It's really a night and day difference, in my opinion. I love it down here in Florida. Um, but yeah, so that's so cool. Well, I'd love for you to talk a little bit about Surf's Up computing and all of the good stuff. So, how did you get involved in the computer process?
Well, actually, I've been using computers going all the way back to the Apple II Plus and the Commodore 64. So basically,
Wow.
yeah, basically late 70s, early 80s.
That's so cool. So
Yeah.
you've just been through all the new additions and all the new changes when it comes to computers. Like you've always been there.
Well, actually, I started out on the software side of it. Used to do my own programming, created a few games, and um, and then
Whoa,
basically took some time off from computers, got back into it, and got more into the hardware side of it, which I found fascinating. And basically in 2015 is when I started Surf's Up Computing.
that's so cool. What kind of games did you make?
I did a knockoff to Miss Pac-Man. I uh,
Okay.
I did a blackjack game that had two different levels to it, a beginners and an advanced that was basically impossible to beat.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then I did an adventure game called let's see, shoot, forgot the name of it, but basically you had to escape from a Nazi German camp or Nazi camp and all that. So
Wow. Okay. So some really hard games there.
yeah.
Whoa. Okay. Okay. That's so cool. Well, so you said you started out on obviously the system sides and now you're moving more into the hardware side. What has been kind of the big, are there any differences that you love or any differences you're like, oh, I didn't realize, this is how it worked when it came to the hardware side of it?
Well, basically, I used to love to tinker and take things apart, and especially calculators and then computers. And as I was doing that, it's like I kind of had a passion to do that. I always thought, how cool would it be if I could actually build my own computers?
Right.
So I started researching that, did started putting them together, tinkering, and eventually started building gaming systems for other people.
Oh, that's so cool. Are there any tips that you'd give a newbie who maybe needs to build, maybe for gaming or maybe for work and looking to kind of build a computer? Maybe they are not looking to build it, but what kind of parts should they be kind of keeping an eye out for?
Well, the main thing is you want to make sure you have a good base system, which would be your motherboard, memory, and processor. The game, the graphics card and all that, that depends on the type of games that you play. So if if you're trying to just do a starter system, I would be more concerned about what's underneath. You can always add to
Mm.
it.
That's a good point. I got my computer pre-built from Best Buy a few years back. And I had to do the same thing. I had to Google like this is what I want to do on it. This, what should I be looking for? And I kind of found the perfect one I needed for from Best Buy. So I thought that was super easy. But I'm sure there's just so many cool things. Like my brother built his own computer
Mhm.
as well a few years ago because he's a huge gamer. So it's just so cool to kind of research and find the parts. Are there any favorites that you have of any companies you like?
Well, I prefer Intel for the chips over AMD, and that's
Okay,
because Intel has made um, some great progress, especially these last couple generations that they've come out with.
nice.
The other thing I love to do is I love to personalize it for the customer. So if they like a lot of lights, we'll put that in. If they want us to engrave their favorite logo or favorite character into the side of the computer, we'll do that. So you
Nice.
name it, we'll do it.
Oh, that's so fun. Speaking of, do you want to kind of share a little bit on Surf's Up Computing, like what you guys can serve so people who are watching can go, oh, that is something I've been struggling with. Now I can go call Chris and he can help me out.
Okay, well, we offer a vast variety of services, everything from the home customer all the way up to the business customer. For business customers, we can install security cameras. We can do their networking, so we can set up like a wireless network for them. Let's see, we have contracts where we can service them for a monthly fee, and it's unlimited services. We'll take care of their servers, their backups. Um, let's see, basically what we do is we kind of go through, see how they're using the computers and design the computers based on their needs. So this way they're
Oh.
not getting too much storage, too much memory, or not enough of this or not enough of that.
Yeah, which is such an awesome part. Like for a lot of people, like when I just buy laptops, right? And my dad would be
Hmm.
like, well, you want probably like I think literally the only thing I knew about laptops prior to maybe just, a few years back, it was like, oh, this is how much storage I would ideally want. But then when I looked into actually building a computer, not just getting, whatever laptop I could find, I was like, oh, there's a graphics card and there's a memory card and there's an SSD and there's different ways, different cables you want. Like how many ports do you want? Do you need a lot of, HDMI cords? Like all of these things play a factor.
Correct.
So it's super interesting to learn about.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
some of the other neat features that we do that we don't do too much of is like we'll put in a wireless bridge. So for example, if you've got a building that's maybe half mile away and it's a straight line of service, we can put in a wireless bridge so you don't have to dig a trench and run a half mile of cabling.
Wow, that's probably super helpful. I don't think a lot of
Yeah.
people want to do that, especially anymore.
Yeah, yeah. So that we do that for both businesses and residential. The residential customer, usually it's someone that lives out on a farm and they want to have access to open their gate with wireless, or they may want a
Oh,
security camera out there so they know who's coming and going.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. I didn't even think about any of these things. Well, now I'm glad
Yeah.
I learned a little bit, so I appreciate you educating
Hmm.
me on this.
Yeah. And then recently we started our own brand of computers,
Oh,
which you brought up recently,
yes.
and I know you've seen it already, but the people watching here haven't. And basically, our brand is called Solar System Computers, and it's based on the planets in our galaxy. And our tagline is "Computers that are out of this world."
That's perfect. I'm such a solar system nerd. I grew up just loving all the planets and learning every fact I could about it. So I think that's so awesome. Do you have any pictures that you can send me that I can maybe put up on the screen so people can
Um,
kind of
yes, and I'll also give you the website. Um,
perfect.
so right now we have the Mercury, which is a small desktop computer, the Venus, which is about a mid-sized tower that has all the bells and whistles, including a wireless charger for your cell phone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it because it's great because basically you just lay your phone on top of the tower and it will charge your phone.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and
Okay.
now we're on our Earth series where it really goes with our theme that computers are out of this world. We actually, with the Earth series, it's basically pieces of artwork that you put on your desktop.
Oh, that's
So
so nice.
yeah,
Okay.
so
I'll
the
definitely
first
make sure, yeah, I take
yeah
some pictures and I post them on. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
yeah yeah. So the first one we have is the golf ball computer, which you've seen. And basically, it's let's see, the golf ball is 6 inches in diameter. All the computer parts are inside the ball, which is kind of unusual, and it
Right.
sits on a tee on the green. So overall size is 9.5 inches tall by 6 inches wide and 6 inches deep. And
Wow.
we can go up to an i9 processor in there. You can run three, um, let's see, three display outputs at 4K. Yeah, up to 64 gigs of RAM and up to a 4 terabyte NVMe solid state drive. So
Wow, that's really small for
yeah,
what you're getting. I
yeah,
don't know
there's
if a
a
lot of people understand, like, nine. It's about, from what I remember, it's about like this size, I would say roughly. So probably around the size of my head or something like that. My current computer is probably about like this, like it doesn't even like fit in frame really. And it's probably about half. Like I think it's about an i9, but about 2 terabytes, I want to say. So I hope people understand, like, this is awesome to hear about.
yeah. The nice thing is we create computers you want to put on your desk, not under.
Oh, because mine is currently, like right
Yeah,
next to me, like right under their desk. Okay, I
yeah,
love that. Yeah,
yeah,
so I'll definitely make sure I put up some pictures so people can see exactly what we're kind of describing and talking about. And I'll make sure I have the website that he mentioned in the description so people can click, copy, paste, whatever makes sense a little bit easier. Because this is some really cool stuff. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming
yeah,
on and sharing a little bit about this. This is awesome.
yep. Thank you.
Of course. Well, is there any kind of last thing you want to throw out there before we wrap it up?
Well, if people want to go to our website, it's let's see, for the store, it's solarsystemcomputers.com. Or no, that's the website
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
for the computers. And then it's surfsupcomputing.com for the store.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Again, I'll make sure I have it in the description so people can click, copy, paste a little bit easier. Would definitely recommend. So, Chris, thank you so much for coming on, sharing a
sure.
few minutes. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Yeah,
I
thank
know
you.
basic stuff about computers. It's not like a huge interest of mine, but you just made it sound so cool and awesome. I feel like I want to go into a deep dive now into what everything looks like. So, thank you. I really
Okay,
appreciate it.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Of course, and to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I will see you next time. Bye.